Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're going to give you just another minute or two while folks continue to join the webinar. We're glad to have you here early as we get settled in. It's a sunny day over here, and we hope you're getting some nice weather too, wherever you are. Please feel free to drop a quick hello in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. It's always fun to see where everyone's tuning in from. So we're really glad to have you with us today. While we wait to get started, now's a good time to get comfortable, grab some water, maybe a snack, settle in. We've got a great webinar lined up, and we're excited to share it with you. Just a quick note that we are recording this session, so if you need to step away at any point, you'll be able to catch the replay later. Thanks again for being here, and we'll get started in just another minute. .48 in the webinar, so I think this would be a good time to get started. So thank you again for joining the webinar today regarding the transportation reimbursement and glass incentive. Just a quick legal disclaimer. The information provided in this presentation does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Circular Action Alliance is not an attorney nor law firm and does not provide legal advice or recommendations. Information in this presentation is not a substitute for the advice of an attorney. No reader should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information in this presentation without first seeking legal advice from your attorney. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this presentation are hereby expressly disclaimed. Just an antitrust reminder, Circular Action Alliance is subject to federal, state, and international antitrust competition laws and has a policy of strict compliance with these laws without exception. These antitrust laws prohibit competitors from engaging in actions that could result in an unreasonable restraint of trade. Consequently, competitors must avoid discussing certain topics when they are together, meeting virtually, or at any other time. Just a quick housekeeping tips for today's webinar. Please use the Q&A button down below on your screen to ask any questions, and we'll make sure to get to them at the end of the webinar. So just a quick overview of the agenda. We'll be talking about the implementation overview, priority 1, transportation reimbursement, glass incentive, system expansion, and then some time for questions. So for the implementation overview, we can quickly just introduce the Oregon team. As you can see, we have been growing and just added another team member, Nick Isbister, to the team. So we are rapidly growing. And from there, I can hand it off to my colleagues.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. Hi, everyone. So Kim Holmes, I'm the Oregon Executive Director. Really appreciate your time spending your afternoon with us. As all of you are well aware, we have reached that major July 1 milestone, and so we are well into implementation. And that means that our primary job is to work with partners across the state to improve outcomes for recycling. And we primarily do that by supporting you. You all are the ones that actually do the service delivery and work with the customers across Oregon and the local jurisdictions. And so the opportunity presented itself through ORRA. You have great representation in your trade association with Kristen and Craig. They offered us the opportunity to connect with you all to provide this update and an overview of where we stand, particularly with some of the funding addenda that we are prioritizing, because you all are likely undertaking activity today that is eligible for funding. And so today we'll walk you through those two focus areas: transportation reimbursement, the glass incentive, primarily. And then we will also give you an update as to where we're at with the system expansion funding. And our goal is that you all come away from this webinar with a good understanding of how to engage with CAA as you go through this process, if you're just at the early stages of starting your consultation on the funding agreements, or what next steps might be if you have already initiated that process. So as you may have already become aware, we have many folks on our team that are working on the different areas of implementation and are leading in different areas. So you very well may get contacted by more than one person on our team. So what we'll offer you here is a bit of a cheat sheet that will allow you to quickly identify kind of who on our team you can proactively reach out to when you need, and who you might want to be on the lookout in terms of inbound communications. So inbound communications, you will probably hear this multiple times during the session, but we have come to learn this is a challenge. We need all of you to make sure that the Circular Action Alliance email is whitelisted in your system. We have encountered situations where we have begun the consultation process with different organizations, and then we come to learn that we've been whitelisted and it interrupts the consultation and slows things down. So if we want to prevent that from happening, please work with your IT department and make sure that you are whitelisting our email address. And we've also kind of put that reminder into the ORRA newsletter that will be going out as well. But here are our contacts. As I said, we'll kind of go through the process that we will initiate with your organization as you all complete your funding agreement, but you can always feel free to reach out to our team if you have questions or any concerns. And we go to the next slide. Can we advance the slides, Susan? One minute. Jerry, are you able to advance the slides?
It seems like she lost audio. I can take over real quickly.
Sorry, folks. Let me pull up the...
Oh.
All right. Great. So we'll move on. I think the next slide there is, the funding agreement structure. Susan Kittleson just sent me some stats. Let me, I'll relay those today. So in terms of the primary funding agreements, which is your first stage for engaging and establishing that funding relationship with CAA, we have funding agreements for about 67% of the haulers to date. We have funding agreements completed from almost half of the CRPFs, about 23% of the cities, and 61% of the counties. So overall, if you're looking at categories, by category, haulers, you all are doing really well. You are kind of leading the pack in terms of getting those primary funding agreements completed and starting that consultation process. So for each type of funding that you may be eligible for, we are going to work through the addendum process for each of those funding areas. So we have an addendum for system expansion. Largely, when we engage with you on system expansion will be dictated by which priority group you're in. I think most priority groups have heard from a CAA staff member so far, but really we're focusing on that priority A group and working to make sure that we've got them under contract and all of their needs addressed. And then we'll move to B and C. For those that will be operating a USCL depot or a Pro depot, we have independent addenda for those. Transportation funding, contamination reduction, the glass incentive, roll carts, and one just for the CRPFs that cover the PCRF and the CMF. But as I said, today we're really going to focus on the transportation funding piece and the glass incentive piece, because these are the ones that we want you all to actively be collecting your information, so that if your PFA or your addenda is not yet complete, you are still eligible to recover funding for the activity that you've undertaken in July since implementation. All right, so we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so the addenda for, as I said, for each stream, the jurisdiction, service provider, or partner needs to enter into consultation for the specifics of that funding that they will be receiving. So for each addenda, we do ask for kind of a unique set of information, try to better understand the conditions or services being offered so we can appropriately pair funding to those activities that you're performing. The addenda will detail the information that needs to be submitted either at the offset to get into our systems or upon request, say for the contamination reduction funding. It also dictates the time frame within which payments will be made. Some payments are 45 days, some are 60 days. The addenda details those. And then it also will detail any information we might need after the fact to say, to re-verify or renew the addenda to make sure that, say, an investment is still in use or that the activity described was undertaken. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so this one is important. We have created a standard operating procedure within our team for how we will undertake the addenda consultation, so that the partners across the state understand what the process, how we intend the process to unfold, and where kind of how we are staging engagement. So once your PFA is signed, you'll receive a welcome email with portal login instructions, and Kevin on our team will walk through that. Again, make sure that email is going to come from serviceproviders.support@circularaction.org. Please make sure that we are whitelisted in your spam folder, or you'll have a very difficult time receiving that information, starting the engagement. It should come once you signed your PFA. This should come within just days. So if a week has gone by and you haven't heard anything, you haven't gotten your initial onboarding email, please reach out to the service providers support@circularaction.org email and do check that spam folder. A second email will initiate the addenda consultation, providing you your primary contact for CAA. So while different team members have different focus areas, you will have kind of one primary contact as a specialist on the CAA team to help get you through the start to finish. Each CAA specialist will directly reach out to complete the applications. Consultation main focus, as I've said, and is the focus of this webinar, is glass transportation and the CRPF addenda, since these are all activities that are currently underway and eligible for funding. We would ask that we do have the addenda up on our website, and we would ask that you hold off on making any edits to the addenda until our team has the opportunity to work through the application with you. And then Miller Nash, who is the legal team working on our funding agreements, will reach out to you for any edits that you might want considered for the addenda. But our team has a separate application where we work with you, capture your information, and that really kind of dictates the structure of the funding. We do have a goal to have consultations complete within 2 to 3 weeks. We understand it can take time to get information, and many jurisdictions have said, they need more time than that. But that is, our intent and what we would like to offer at the offset of consultation, recognizing that these things can take longer, but that is our goal. We aim to reply to all inquiries within 2 business days. So again, if you have not heard from us and two business days have gone by, feel free to reach back out to us. Reach out to our OregonInfo@circularaction.org email. There are a number of team members monitoring that, so we have more than one way of you all being able to get in contact with us. And Miller Nash will reach out to you with the final addenda for any of your edits and approval before we go through the DocuSign process. All of our agreements do go through the DocuSign process. All right, so that is a high-level overview of what you can expect from the process on our end. So at this point, I am going to turn things over to, I think we've got Greg Ryan, who can walk us through the transportation reimbursement and the glass incentive and update on the system expansion. Greg?
Thank you. Next slide. So the transportation reimbursement for USCL and glass specifically, the people who need to sign that are any entity that is transporting USCL material or glass over 50 miles to the nearest CRPF or responsible end market. Those are the ones that would be eligible for the transportation reimbursement. And the addendum covers and calculates the transportation reimbursement based on information provided by the funding recipient during the application process. The agreement needs to be signed preferably by July, but we are acknowledging that, you know, we're all in the process of getting all these completed. So I think just urging everybody to make sure that you're keeping all of the information from your July 1st on any loads that you have that will be eligible for the reimbursement. We can go back and cover those costs. It's just making sure you have all the proper documentation, which we'll go into a little bit later on the next slide, I guess, in order to receive funding for that. What you should do now to be ready, if you are the transporter, determine all the local governments that and transfer station reload facilities might need to receive the designation form. And if you are the local government, please determine where your USCL material is going and consolidated, and what party needs to be designated to receive that funding. So in order for us to fund those transportation needs, the government entity needs to make sure that they designate their funding towards that location of where their material is going. Some of the data needed for the transportation for reimbursement. The first step is to request approval from the transportation of material. So once you have the addendum approved, you'll have access to the portal. And that'll allow you to request a date of how many loads you're going to have, the originating facility name and ID, designated facility name and ID, material being transferred, truck type, preparation type, and estimated cost per load. And that'll be, as you get into the portal and get approval for those loads, you'll get assigned a number that you'll be able to use when billing us for those particular loads. So you can request additional loads. You know, say you have 20 loads for the month, you can get all those numbers pre-populated so that you can schedule your month in advance. And if you don't end up using all of those, they would just expire and you would get new ones for the next month following. Next slide. Reporting transportation activity. The second step is to report the transportation activity, origination info, the originating facility, weigh scale, ticket number, originating facility name and ID. The ID is provided by CAA in the reference data, service date and originating facility, the date on the weight scale, service time in and out, and originating facility. Destination info, the destination facility, weigh scale ticket, destination facility name and ID, again provided by CAA reference data, the service date and the destination facility, the service time in and out of the destination facility. So those are just a few of some of the information that's needed for every transaction that you are going to be requesting reimbursement for. Next slide. Reporting transportation activity. Additional CAA will need transportation authorization number. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit, but this is the number that I was referring to when you're getting the transportation authorization number from our portal in order to get access to, or to be able to submit the invoice at the end of the month. Every one of those transactions will need this authorization number in order to get reimbursement for. It'll have the hauler name and ID, material type, origin, gross, tare, and net weights, destination, gross, tare, and net weights. And what we're trying to do there is just tie what left your facility to what actually arrived at the destination facility. So we're tying those weights together. Basically, from origination, we're looking for inbound to outbound, all the way to the inbound at the CRPF, or responsible end market, to tie all the tonnage information from generation all the way to the end, along with the haul charge. Next. Glass incentive is very similar. The addendum covers the payment of $77 a ton for any glass that is picked up curbside and or at a depot. The local governments are responsible for designating where that funding goes. There are instances where the local government is keeping the $77 a ton, but also requiring the hauler to do the reporting required for those loads. And as part of that, we found, because the material or the loads that are going for that day could potentially span between multiple jurisdictions, we are needing from all the hauler locations, they need to identify a route number and a per day on every day that they service glass, and to what community that route actually covers. So estimated percentage of the load, so we're able to distribute that $77 a ton based on the community that route actually serviced. So there's added complexity to the glass incentive addendum now, that we need to dig down deeper and actually be able to distribute out that money, some to the local government and then some to the hauler, depending on that route and that day. So there's a lot of extra work that on everybody's part, that we need everybody's assistance with gathering the data. And if there's further questions later on, we can go into it in a little more detail. But who needs to sign this is local governments wanting to receive the $77 a ton, and or the service provided designated as the recipient. Again, this needs to be done by July 31st so that payments can begin. And I would add that until we actually can get that route information for all those transactions, we will not be able to distribute the $77 a ton, because we need to make sure that that is divided up properly for every transaction that comes in. So the more assistance that we get from everybody, the better to get those things over the finish line. What should you do now to be ready? Determine what glass collection activity is currently underway in your community, what services are desired to be maintained, and which entities should receive the incentive funding. Data needed for glass incentive. The following information is needed: weight scale, ticket number at the designation facility, direction, whether it's inbound, service date, service time in and out of the designation facility, originating community name and ID, hauler name and ID, designation facility name, material name and ID, route number, truck ID, gross tear and net weight, and the haul charge, which is optional. I would say that slide is a little off and misleading, but the route number is not optional. We actually need that in order to tie that back to the community. So we need to fix that slide. So again, that route number is a key to be able to distribute those funds. And now we'll go into system expansion. So system expansion addendum covers the eligible funding for local governments or their service provider for infrastructure needed to support transition to collecting the list of USCL material. Who needs to sign it? Local governments and or their designated service provider. When does this need to be signed? During open consultation. As Kim mentioned, we have different priority groups, A through F at this point, and we are in current negotiation or discussions with priority A through D. A was I believe we started back in January, so they're the farthest along, and we'll be hopefully hitting all priority A through Fs by before the end of the year, so we can get all these things moving forward. what should you do to be ready? Local governments and service providers should catalog needed investments to support the USCL collection in advance of the consultation with CAA. Next. The process for the system expansion is to sign and fully execute your primary funding agreement from Miller Nash, which is key for all of these addendums, is to make sure you're getting in and doing that first. The next step would be verification of your ORSOP survey results that you originally did. We're just looking to confirm that what we're finding that some interpretation of how the ORSOP was filled out was different depending on the person who was doing it. So we're looking at verifying a lot of that information. So some of it's redoing what you did or just confirming it to make sure that we understand that we're all on the same page about the information that was provided. Complete and submit a system expansion application for your jurisdiction served. Submit any quotes for all the necessary equipment purchased. Sign and return the system expansion addenda from Miller Nash. Then you can place and receive your equipment orders and implement your en route collection of all USCL materials. I apologize if that was going pretty fast, but we'll have time for questions at the end of this. So far, our system expansion engagement, we've reached out for priority A. We have 15 community meetings that we've completed, and we're in the process of receiving quotes back on some trucks and containers and working on the timing of when those communities will be starting their process. The biggest challenge we're seeing is the delay or the length of time it takes to get trucks, along with, depending on the community, whether or not they have to go through rate setting and other things to get approval for the en route services to start. And some communities are not ready to, or some service providers are not ready to give us the quotes on the trucks until they have a better timing, because there's a potential of the money or the cost of the trucks and equipment needed for this could go up before they're actually ready. So that's delaying a few of these from getting started, but we hope to keep pushing forward and getting some of those done. We've got priority B. We have 18 USCL depots meetings completed. Priority C, we've got 42 have been contacted and meetings are in progress. And we're moving on to priority D, which is the 33 counties engaged with meetings in progress. So those have all been going simultaneously. And again, most of the USCL discussions are around making sure you're able to get your signage and ready for any of those communities that already have the location set up and they just need new signs to add all the additional or any additional USCL material into their bins. We have 17.5 million is the amount CAA plans to invest in just the priority A communities alone. And what's next? System expansion phase 2 is our priority E. We'll have 10 proposed USCL combination depots in 9 counties to be engaged. Priority F is one of our biggest. That's everybody who's left over, basically. It's 124 jurisdictions to engage. So that's going to be a heavy lift towards the end of the year, and there's a lot of investments that'll be going into the priority Fs. We've also started what we're calling ORSOP 2.0 surveys. There was 108 jurisdictions without complete responses in the 2024 ORSOP survey. So we've reached out to all those communities and giving them another opportunity to complete the survey. And we've asked that those have a closing date of July 25th. And all responders will be included in the phase 2 outreach. Off to you, Kevin.
Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And I'll be walking through a little bit about the service provider portal. So essentially what CA has done is built a portal that will be a one-stop shop for everything you need in regarding to submitting any kind of activity reports, submitting any requests for reimbursement, where you'll be able to see your invoices and review and find any corresponding data that has been outlined in the contract that you have signed. We will document all legal and local government designations and contract addenda for every single service provider, because each local government or service provider will only have access to submit any kind of data or invoices that is associated with a signed contract addendum. Otherwise, we will not have anything turned on in regards to being able to submit any sort of data or invoices through those other means. We have the service provider portal is enabled to be set up for payment accounts for easy receipt of payments. And any way we can start that out or help you out, we have an email below for serviceproviders.support@circularaction.org that you'll be able to go to and send any inquiries to. Next slide. So when it comes to getting into the service provider portal, we will wait for the completion and approval of your signed PFA. Once that is completed and signed and approved, we will then set up your account in the service provider portal. Once it is set up, the contact that has signed that PFA will receive a welcome email with guides for both the vendor or billing side for invoicing and the activity reporting side, where any data for activity reports can be submitted. Now, we will ask for a couple of pieces of information in order to complete setup of your account in the service provider portal. One thing we ask for is the billing contact, which is the contact that is responsible for invoicing us and receiving reimbursements from us. Again, because the welcome email is going directly to that contact that had signed the PFA, we were requesting that they are the ones who inform us who that contact will be. For the activity reports, we will ask for the same thing. Those are the people responsible for submitting any of the data or any of the activity reports into the service provider portal. Unlike the billing contact for activity reports, you are able to have multiple people logged in or have login credentials for your specific account. So if you have multiple people, they'll be submitting stuff to us. That is allowed, and we can set that up for you as long as we have that contact information. Again, we will ask for that in the welcome email, so it will all be there for you when you receive it. Next slide. So we did mention the two different portions of the provider portal, and we'll just go over them a little bit more. We have the activity reporting side, which is built to receive data for you to submit your activity reports. You'll be able to review the status of those specific reports, whether they are in progress at the moment, whether they have been rejected via validation, or whether they have been approved. Anything that gets rejected, we will review, and we can reach out to you to give you reason why, what's happening, to help guide you along in order to fix whatever issues may show up. On that part of the portal as well, you will be able to receive and review any monthly summaries or monthly reports that do come through for the data that you have submitted. On the vendor side or the billing side, that's where all the invoices are. Again, it's only available to the billing contact just for extra security purposes. That is where you're going to be able to enter and update any banking information, submit invoices, and review any invoice status. The person who is set up as the billing contact in order to set up themselves in that portal will receive login credentials from our finance team, and they will be able to help you along there. We just need to have the billing contact to be able to send to them so that this can get moving along as smoothly as possible. That usually happens between 2 to 3 business days of receipt of that contact information. Next slide. So we're going to focus more on the activity report side today. And the activity reports are essentially what you'll be submitting to us. And we do have a very specific format for the individual reports that you could be submitting. In the portal, though, we do have Excel templates there that you can download, and they will have detailed information to be filled out by yourselves on material movement. Now we have them, once again, like I said, downloadable in the portal. As anything changes in regard to reference data, if those get updated or added, or if any requirements get changed or any directions get changed, we will update those templates there so you can download them anytime you want. And those templates that are on there for whatever signed addenda and service provider role that you have, whatever you're going to be submitting data for, they will include 3 things. The first is a detailed directions tab that shows which fields are required, which fields are optional, and the directions of what we are looking at for those individual fields. We also have a reference data tab in there, which gives reference data as to what our IDs and numbers are for different facilities, for different communities, haulers, everything you might need in order to be able to put that on your report and have it validated perfectly through our system. And then you have the report side in which you can fill out your data and then submit that into the service provider portal as well. Next slide. So this is just a look at the frequency of when we would be expecting activity reports, stuff like anything from the CRPFs, inbound, outbound reports. Daily is an expectation, or weekly with approval from CAA. Otherwise, things like the broker end market report, inventory reports, we are expecting those on a monthly basis. For your transfer stations or reload facility reports, whether it's inbound or outbound, we expect those weekly, along with the class collection delivery report. Transportation reimbursements for both request for approval and shipment confirmation, that's more on a monthly basis. You can also see on the notes section on the side just a little bit more about what we would be expecting for each of those reports for whatever you have signed addenda for. Next slide, please. So specifically when it comes to submitting transportation reimbursements, you will end up submitting a transportation reimbursement request, which is a type of activity report that you will be able to download the template from the service provider portal when you are ready. We expect each row to have an expected shipment for the coming month. You can see the different pieces that we expect for each row with our originating facility, the destination facility, the material type, material preparation type, truck, estimated cost, estimated tons. Once again, on the template that you can download from the service provider portal for this, on the directions tab, this has it all outlined as to what is required. And our system will then validate the request against any approved travel segments for the service provider that has been submitted through the contracting process. And we will then return the activity report once approved and passing validation with transportation authorization numbers for each row that you have submitted data for through the transportation reimbursement request. And then after shipment and by the end of the month, you can submit that reimbursement activity report with those transportation numbers, where you'll have the actual shipment information, including the scale ticket, price, tons, and once again, I will say it, the transportation authorization number that will be created and approved once the reimbursement request initially has been set up, validated, and approved. We will then generate a monthly summary, which will be available for you to view in the service provider portal. And then you can submit an invoice that matches that monthly summary in order to get reimbursement. Next slide. Here is just a look at the baseline data that we are expecting in order to make sure all of this passes validation. You can see that our team is trying to reach out to service providers to support this data gathering. We will support mapping of the inbound and outbound transactional exports to our system. And we will work with you in order to map your facilities, materials, customers, and haulers to our reference data so that we know you have different names for these, different IDs for these, and we want to make sure it's as seamless as possible. So we will help you map from what you have to what we have in order to make sure that your reports can be entered into our system and pass validation a lot quicker. We also require a route field for all local inbound loads to the CRPFs and transport reload facilities. Those providers should work to include that field in their scale systems. We are also working with the haulers as well to try and get reference data for those routes, so we see those route numbers and we know where those originating communities are, so we can track your loads back to those. You can see on the baseline data on the side some of the things that we would be expecting in order to be able to build this out as seed data and then have it be validated against what you will be submitting to us. Any communication will be coming on this aspect from Dan Lance. His email is down there, or any questions around getting mapping or C data can go to him as well. Next slide, please. When it comes to any kind of support, once you are in the service provider portal, whether you're having issues with data submission, access to the portal, you need to change the email that is on there, or need any kind of assistance, you can have your activity report contacts go into the portal, and they'll be able to submit cases in the help and support tab so that we can end up looking at those, providing support and helping you through that. If you have issues logging in or need any other issues that cannot be submitted through the cases side, please feel free to contact serviceproviders.support@circularaction.org, and we will be more than happy to help you with any questions you may have.
All right, great. Thank you, Kevin and Greg, for that overview. So as promised, we have about 20 minutes remaining where we would love to field some of the questions that this audience might have. We have been actively responding in the Q&A chat box during the course of the presentation, and we can revisit some of those for the benefit of the group. But we have a new one in. How can we initiate addenda consultation for transportation and glass reimbursements? First step is getting that primary funding agreement in. So if you have not yet had a chance to complete that, that is step number one for all of the addenda. Once that is complete, we get notice of that completed agreement from Miller Nash. And then our team meets 3 times a week, our funding agreement team, and you'll be you'll get a specialist designated to you, and they will initiate that outreach. If you feel that you've already passed that PFA point, you have not gotten an inbound outreach from CAA, please go ahead and refer back to the chart, and feel free to reach out to either the glass incentive representative or the transportation reimbursement representative, and we'll get you started on that. All right, let's see. While we're waiting for some questions to come in, perhaps we'll revisit a few that already have come in. There was a question we received about eligibility for transportation reimbursements. And this example specific to glass, if a hauler is moving glass within 50 miles of the glass-to-glass facility, would that be eligible for transportation reimbursement? At this time, materials collected within 50 miles of a CRPF with existing capacity or a responsible end market are not eligible for transportation reimbursement. And I've popped in the rule citation there. I know that this is an issue that has been raised with DEQ by service providers, particularly in the Portland metro area. And since it is an item that's in rule, it could perhaps be addressed during the third rulemaking. So if that is an important issue to you, I would make sure that you make DEQ aware of that priority as they start to move towards rulemaking 3, which we expect to happen this fall. All right. Let's see, do we have, I'm not seeing, oh, wrong tab. For system expansion in communities with established recycling programs, can system expansion funding be used for growth? For example, if new developments and new annexations require new trucks and carts, does that count as system expansion? Greg, would you like to take this one?
Sure, I can try. It's our understanding that it's based on where we were at right now, and what we have estimated for expansion currently is just where the system is now and or the communities are now. We don't have anything built in for expansion of growth in communities in the future, but I do think that will probably be something that comes in the next program plan, that there'll be some discussions along the way. So I encourage you to keep bringing that up as we move forward with the next round. I don't know if you've got anything to add, Kim.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great foundation for the answer. The only thing I would add is that DEQ would be the one that would initiate another needs assessment. And I would imagine that that is a type of request that would be caught in another needs assessment cycle. I do not know if DEQ is planning on conducting another needs assessment before the next program plan submission, which that submission is due July 2027. So that would be, if that's an area of importance, that's a question I would raise to DEQ as well. All right. Okay, so here's another one on the glass. To clarify regarding glass route collection data, CAA would like individual weights per truck and per load that they haul before they offload their glass. Kevin, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take this one. When it comes to glass route collection, what we have on there is we're just looking for what the overall weight is, so that we know how much was ended up being dropped. When it comes to the exact specification of what we would need, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I can reach out and try and get the answer for you as soon as possible to make sure that I'm giving you the correct answer.
Great.
Yeah, I was trying to find that question in here, but I'm not seeing it. So I don't know if I can help. In where are we seeing those questions at, Kim?
Q&A.
Oh, never mind. I see it now.
Yep.
Yeah, so the individual weight per truck is just what's needed. And then again, with the route information is how we'll divide up those tickets from those individual loads that come in.
Great. Here is one about weights as well. So our reload facility doesn't have a scale, so we only get weights from the MRF. Is that going to be an issue?
So we've encountered this at a few different locations, and what the plan would be is that we would utilize the weights from the end market or the MRF or the reload facility that you're taking the material to. And then we'd ask that you do your best to estimate on your reporting about how much of that. So if you're reloading glass at your facility with no scales and then bringing it into like glass to glass, for instance, do your best at estimating what those inbound loads would be. I think at this point, we don't have an expectation of putting in scales for these. We think we can get the information that's needed to the best of, with your help of dividing out the estimated tons, because we will be able to tie your outbound tons using a ticket that we receive at the end market or the other reload facility.
Great. Thank you, Greg. All right, we've got a few additional ones. So if you all are thinking of others, please feel free to type them in. But this one, how is the reimbursement amount determined? I'm assuming this is for transportation. As a CRPF, we have a trucking fleet that can do hauling more cost efficiently than a third party. Can we bill for more than our actual cost, or do we lose that efficiency premium?
We are only reimbursing for the actual cost. So I think at this point, you do lose that efficiency premium. Because at least in my understanding, we reimburse for what the actual cost of the transportation is.
Great. Thank you, Greg. All right. And we've got one last one here, unless others come through. Can you explain the rationale for monthly pre-validation of anticipated transfer of loads to CRPFs or end markets? Could that pre-validation be done annually? Kevin, do you want to take that one?
When it comes specifically for the pre-validation annually, I'm not 100% sure if that's something that can be done. Once again, that's going to be something that I can get back to you on hopefully the next day or so, and make sure we get the right answer to that question for you.
Yeah, and I believe that because those numbers do expire, that I don't know that I'm not sure I understand the need for doing it annually, if I'm following the question correctly, but I think our system is set up to needing those on a monthly basis, and then they would expire so that we can make sure that we're budgeting correctly and estimating what our monthly costs are going to be as time goes on.
Great. Thank you both for that. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A, but I haven't been monitoring the chat. I might ask Jerry or Susan if they've seen anything come through the chat.
I do not see anything. No.
Okay. Great. Well, maybe just give folks one more minute to type in any outstanding questions that they may have at this time.
Oh, we do have one
Oh.
chat.
Yeah, okay. Media and customers are asking about the USCL. How will the list be shared? What is recommended for or required by haulers? So I think there's a couple of things to unpack with this question. With communities transitioning to collecting the uniform statewide collection list at different stages, and some of this is a function of they need the investments to get the infrastructure to support the expanded collection. Some communities have what they need and are already making that transition. It does become a little bit challenging to kind of universally message that, you know, the state's list is improving and it's being harmonized across the state, and here's the list. So we're not at that stage yet of being able to do that. What we do welcome is haulers and local governments to enter our education outreach portal and start to customize the education resources that they need. And I'll in a second here turn it over to Jerry, who can talk. He manages that process for us, and he can talk about the types of resources that are available and how you access that portal. But I would say start there. And then we also have a whole communications plan around the transition to the USCL. So you can start to have that conversation with your customers well in advance of when the change occurs. Also, we have heard that there have been media inquiries coming to haulers as local spokespeople of the services they offer. And that there were some questions around that. The CAA comms team has provided a one-pager, a media one-pager to ORRA for distribution to their members to help in the event you are getting any media inquiries. Has some basic stats and facts about the program, but then certainly feel willing to or able to refer any of those media inquiries to CAA if the questions become specific about CAA. But Jerry, do you want to talk about the E&O portal and resources that are available?
Yeah. Thank you, Kim. Yep. So we have the education and outreach portal that is live. We have sent out a few emails, and it is also in a few of the newsletters that we have sent out, our monthly newsletter. And these communications have a lot of resources as to how to kind of get started, step by step on how to get registered into the E&O portal, the necessary steps that is required to verify the information for your community. So recycling information, single family, multifamily, things of that nature. In order to be able to customize education and outreach material, this information does have to be submitted and verified by our partner, TRP, who will review that data. And then if anything comes up, they will reach out. But once that is completed, you will be able to access the education and outreach materials, which will then be able to be customized for your community's needs. We also have the Recycle On website, which I will drop in the chat here. This is also just the website that will contain a lot of resources for consumers and the public. So this is also a great place to kind of browse through and see what we are hosting on this website. So for the E&O portal, it is pretty simple. If some of you have already been in there, we might have been in communications about some of the print order that have been submitted, but it's pretty simple. Once you customize your E&O material and you have it at a good place, you will then download it, send it to the oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org email, and then we will review it. We do ask that you submit orders about 2 to 3 weeks from when you really need it by, just to give enough time for both the communications team to review and also for any print order things that might come up. Some of the communications can be found in the newsletters that we sent out on a monthly basis, also on some of the resources that can be found on our website. But if you have any questions, please feel free to email the oregon.recycleon@circularaction.org email, or my email that I will drop in the chat right here. And I'm happy to answer any questions related to E&O.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. We did get one more related to that. Are haulers required to use the CAA templates for the curbside lists? It is my understanding that DEQ is allowing some communities flexibility in terms of the materials that they choose to distribute to customers, but it is important to note that CAA will only pay for the printing of those materials that do utilize the template. And Jerry, confirm if I'm correct on that. And then 2, maybe you can speak to the extent that the materials are customizable so that it can still kind of, reflect a hauler's brand and feel.
Yeah. So in the portal, once you get into the customize the education and outreach material, you will be able to customize everything down from the phone number that you would like to use, the website that you would direct your citizens to visit, and then also you would be able to add in your logo as well. It also gives you the ability to customize your material, whether or not you collect glass. So a lot of these functions can be done in the portal, but if you do run into any issues, please feel free to reach out, and we are happy to edit those materials to fit your community's needs. There is a question in the Q&A about how do we access the E&O portal. I am dropping the link in the chat right now that will allow you to access the E&O portal. From there, you will log in. You will just submit your information, and then you will then get a link that will allow you to fully register. Once you enter the portal, you will then go to your communities that you are requesting. So, for example, I live in Beaverton, so I would be requesting the city of Beaverton. And then once you make that request, it will alert the communications team that there's a request in the portal. We will go in there within 48 hours and accept this request. From there, you will be able to access the community you requested and add the information, the recycling information for said community. Once it is verified, you will then be able to access the education and outreach material and then be able to customize it from everything down from your logo to the phone number, website that you would like people to visit. And also you will be able to choose if you collect glass or not. That's also an option in the portal.
Great.
Here's my email in case you have any questions. And then this is the link to the Recycle On website that we have.
Great.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jerry. So the intent is that CAA is covering the cost of these materials, but we really want to do what we can to support the haulers to continue to lead with communication with the customers that they serve. You all have the established relationship, you have the built trust, and you are the first person they're going to naturally come to with their questions. So we'll make sure that we are able to equip you with clear messaging when there are changes to your programs or when you do some of your other communication around contamination reduction. All right, well, we are almost at time, and I don't see any more questions in the webinar chat or the Q&A. Again, I really want to thank all of you for your time joining this webinar. We are happy to provide similar content on future topics as we work through different stages of implementation. There will be different areas of emphasis that we would like to bring, and we recognize that we can't do this without helping to be haulers successful in what you all do. So we very much view this as a partnership, and to the extent that we can continue to serve as a resource for you all, we are happy to do so. I see in the chat here, we maybe have a few typos to clean up in this deck. We will make sure those are addressed And then we will get this deck sent to Kristen Mitchell and Craig Campbell for broader distribution, along with a link to the recorded webinar. But if there's nothing else, I want to thank the CAA team, and I want to thank all of you all today for a very good discussion. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.